Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Office Hours with myself, Fr Stu, Wilson Smith, here at the St. Thomas More Newman Center. We're the Catholic Campus Ministry for the Ohio State University here in Columbus, Ohio. You may hear a little bit in my voice. You know, one of the reasons I started doing these office hours things was to look at what does a priest do during the week, apart from, say, Mass on Sunday, because there is more stuff. One of those things this week for me has been becoming a little bit ill. So I seem to have come down with something. There's been something going around, a bit of a bug. So I had the whole sore throat, and there's just this situation. It's just not great. It has not been great. And so I've been resting for a couple days and read a couple books, and that was fun. And I had a chance to read some more on our topic for today, which is Halloween. So hopefully we'll just get through some of the basic details or brief discussion on this. One thing that's helping me along, we're just going to keep it cash here. I hope you don't mind. I got the tea happening right here. I like the clear glass tea. I think when I pour it, it has I don't know, I like seeing the steam come out there and everything. I'm using the throat coat today. I don't know if you ever used this. I was just looking at the ingredients. And, you know, these things on their own, maybe not terrific, but together they do wonderful things. Organic licorice root, organic slippery elm bark, okay, licorice root dry extract, and marshmallow root. I mean, that sounds awesome. I don't think it's what marshmallows are made from. I think marshmallows are pretty much sugar, but I do love them. There's also wild cherry bark and fennel fruit, and cinnamon and orange peel. I mean, it's like stuff that on its own, man, I don't know, but together it's doing some magic. I tell you what, I'll tell you that right now. On Monday, though, before all this happened, I did get to talk to our middle school group a little bit about Halloween, which was a lot of fun. They had some great ideas and questions, and I asked everybody what they were dressing up as. And you know, Harry Potter is still very popular, right? Like, I didn't even realize that. That's still a very popular costume idea. I think that's cool. It seems like a good one. So that's one thing we'll discuss is, like, should we even do that kind of thing? My thesis is yes, have fun, enjoy it. That's, you know, if you want to cut to the chase and just end this thing now, you know, it's basically have fun. Halloween, where does it come from? Well, the word means All Hallows Eve. Your basic Wikipedia search is going to do that for you. You're going to find out that information, that Halloween is All Hallows Eve. What's a hallow? Where else do you hear that, right? In Catholicism and other, right? It's Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I got a lot of medication going on, but I was able to remember the Our Father. That's good news. Hallowed, so it's like holy. So in this case, and we've been talking, it sort of refers to the spirits, so like the Holy Spirits. And the idea being, this was a Celtic pagan, so not just any generic sort of Roman pagan, especially Celtic pagan idea of, you know, this was a movement between the harvest and the winter. So it's like you would harvest all the crops, and then winter is associated with death because you're not growing anything at that period of time. So they had this festival, Samhain. It's spelled S-A-M-H-A-I-M, as you would assume. I think it's Samhain or so on. I'm not happy with any of the pronunciations I've heard. I mean, you know, obviously based on how it's spelled, it's trippy. I lived in Ireland for a while, so I know how some of the words or the letter combinations work. But Samhain, so that was like the festival, and the thought being that there were spirits coming down among us. And eventually people start and walking around, you know, and it's like a liminal time. So like, that is to say, where there's like less of a barrier between this physical world and the spirit world, as it were. So spirits could roam around, and people started putting on a guise of sorts. So you could like mummify yourself. You could put like little mummy wrappings around. You could do other things, put on masks. And the idea being then you're disguised from the evil spirits so they won't harm you. And people really treated it as a feast of sorts. And so you'd have all the foodage and whatnot. And from what I gather, I think people even started leaving food and drink outside of their homes for the spirits to enjoy. So it was like a little offering for them. So you can see like some of the roots of maybe where you'd later get some version of Halloween. In terms of the trick part, like trick or treat, again, I'm not that happy with any of the explanations I've found. I'm a big primary source guy. I know you can go on there and plenty of people have blog posts and stuff, but nobody's like pointing me to a place where I'm really happy with that. I am familiar with a practice called souling. I think this was sort of around the Middle Ages, when people would go around and in exchange for food or some other gifts, people, including children, would go door to door, and in exchange for that stuff, you could say a prayer for their loved ones who are for the people in the home. You'd say a prayer for them, for their loved ones who are still in purgatory. So souling, but there's still there's no trick in there, right? And there's a bunch of other theories involving Guy Fawkes and Guy Fawkes Day in France and whatnot. And again, you can look all that up. I'm not sure about that. But the main thing that I want to get to is how do we as Christians and especially as Catholics, how do we negotiate this type of stuff? And there's different ways Christians have handled it in this country. And in some ways that's just made it all the more separate from Halloween, more separate and non-Christianized, where we've completely lost touch with it as something that could be redeemed, as I think all things tend to be redeemed in Christ. I shouldn't say tend to, that's just what we believe. So in this case, how would that happen? Well, what do we celebrate on November 1st is All Saints Day. And then on November 2nd, All Souls Day. All saints being all those who have been declared saints, as well as those known only to God. That is to say, those who are saints whom we have not, we don't know who are saints yet. And so it's a day to honor those people and remember them and ask for their prayers. And then there's All Souls Day, November 2nd, which is everybody who has passed. And so it's those days are extremely close, obviously, now to Halloween. So how would you integrate some sense of what All Saints is trying to celebrate with Halloween? Well, I've seen some suggestions around here. So I got to take a quick sip here. I don't mean to be rude. One sec. I tell you what, that licorice root, it just hits the spot, and the bark, the licorice root and the bark. Well, we believe in the communion of saints, right? That's my first thing is, what are All Souls and All Saints? What are these two things call to mind for us? And among them is the fact of the communion of saints, and so when the pagans celebrated this liminal day, when there was less of a barrier, that the way we conceive that barrier is very different for us, because we already perceive ourselves as being in close connection with the saints. And capital S and big S, those who are with God and are who are already enjoying the fullness of what God has promised, and joy and peace and those things, and because we asked for prayers from them, and at Mass we remember them and petition to them. So it's like we already have a closer connection to them than may have been perceived in other belief systems. So it's that communion is already a closeness for us. We don't really need a focused, per se, one day for that. So that would already be, one wrench in it. But in terms of, how do we respond to the way Halloween has become ghoul and goblin focused? And even that, like I said, I don't know if it's quite as much that anymore, with all people dressing up as Harry Potter and whatnot, right? That's not, how do we deal with that? Thing to remember is that it's an opportunity to celebrate that Christ is victorious over all that stuff. So whatever evil may be out there, well, we want to have a due respect for the spirit world. There's also a sense in which we can have almost a celebration that it doesn't have that power and that control over us in the same way. And I think, the church has a history of integrating that sense of victory into its liturgy and theology. And, so there's a goodness in not being, afraid of that, even though you want to have some kind of appropriate respect. So, and one thing I was thinking of is you can kind of retain a sense of humor about this, because the church has like a certain dark humor, if you will. Someone else I found online was thinking of in the same vein too, because I was thinking of the way we name our patron saints. Like St. Lawrence of Rome died literally by grilling, and he was supposedly he said, "Turn me over, I'm done on this side." Right? He was being tortured, horribly, and yet we make him the patron saint of cooks. You know, Saint Stephen was stoned to death. He's the patron saint of headaches. You know, it's like that's a very dark sort of patronage. And yet, I think when we look at these things that in our life that are extremely difficult and even tragic, and are able to have some sense of even humor about them or lightness, it's precisely because Christ has already gained victory over these things. And so if you have that confidence, I think it should make you less tiptoey around things like Halloween. You know, and instead just have some fun and enjoy your life because God made it, and he didn't make a mistake, you know. So enjoy. That's all I'll say. But again, you know, it's like also the respect and all that, and evil itself is a whole other subject. But with Halloween, you know, I'm just going to leave it there. One question I had for you this week is just, what's your favorite Halloween song? If you happen to see this and you're like, oh, I'm going to throw that out there, I'd be really curious, because someone asked me this, and I said, well, look, this is not like a whole genre of tunes here. I could only think of the Monster Mash, obviously. And this guy right here, I don't know if you can hear it. I love that song. That's a French, I mean, my brother and I, we grew up in a French immersion program in Eastern Canada, and that song was huge. C'est Halloween. It's Halloween. We sang it every year, and when someone says Halloween, that's the first thing I think of. So that's my favorite. If you have another one, let me know, because I'd be very curious. We might talk about them next time. All right, that's it for now, everybody. If you have any questions or comments, or if I said something scandalous, I apologize. This is the risk of doing something live. You never know what's going to come out, you know. It's just whatever. But for now, have a happy Halloween. Enjoy yourselves. God bless you all. Bye.